Hello, welcome back to another SwansCast podcast. I'm joined by Ben and Lee this week to discuss all things positive that happened in the last 7 days or so, including bottling a 1-0 lead in the South Wales derby and exiting the Carabao Cup all in the same week. So lovely week to do a podcast. I'm sure it'll be very positive and happy, and we're going to, fill everyone's ears with all of this cheer. But we'll get into it. First of all, I want to just touch on the news so that we can just rant away, I guess. So there is some good things that happened this week. But before we get there, how are you two doing this week? I know Lee's got a big week ahead, so probably not going to see you for the next few.
Yeah, not too bad. Going away tomorrow for the wedding, so packing and panicking and getting everything done. So it wasn't the best week to have the derby and crash out of the cup either. But we.
Now you wish your wedding was on the derby.
Yeah.
Ben, how's your week been?
Fairly quiet week, all things considered, despite feels like 2 losses. I know it was a draw and a loss. Upcoming now, got birthday on the weekend, then start a new job on Monday. So guess all three of us are going to be busy as well. Hoping the tide turns a bit, though, because, like you say, we'll get into it, but it's been a bit of a shocker of 7 days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird to say that after, ultimately one league defeat in 3. I know it was cup defeats, doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but I think there's just too much trends and worry and actions to discuss that we'll get into later on, which is why the feeling's a bit sour, but we'll get there. Let's talk about the other stuff first then. So Swansea City have signed some players in the last week, so we've got 3 to talk about. We saw a couple of them play in the cup game last night, so we can talk about them a little bit more when we get to that later in the video. But first of all, Florian Bianchini. I'm sure they were calling Bianchini on Sky.
He's French, I know. Bianchini. I don't literally don't know. It's a guessing game.
The accent on and it works. From SC Basta is a winger signed for an undisclosed fee. I'm not sure how much that is. Do you have any idea of a reported fee?
Apparently about 1.8 million, rising to 2. They put it on their website. Their club did, but we put undisclosed. Okay. They put £1.8 million rising to 2.1 potentially with add-ons, which is a lot.
Yeah, well, we'll see how he does. But he's 23, he signed a 4-year deal, so that's kind of keeping the trends of longer contracts. I wonder if this bites them in the bum with a couple of these players they've signed now, because it's like they did it with Asoro, as we mentioned before, and they were scared of it for years. Now they've reverted to it after losing a few players on the cheap, and it's like they can't find a happy medium. But hopefully it doesn't get to that point. But yeah, wearing a number 19 shirt, and as I said, he was on a bench for the Cardiff game, and he did make his debut against Wycombe. Apparently he can play on both sides of the wing. We saw him on the right in his debut, so we'll see if he ends up on the other side at all. Wonder if he will rotate the wingers around depending on the opposition. Obviously, we've already talked about Ronald seemed to have moved from the right to the left, whether that's tactical or preference, not really sure, but it's worked on occasions. I wouldn't say it's always worked in every game. Second signing, we have completed the loan signing of Nelson Abbey from Olympiacos, left-footed centre-back. Correct me if I'm wrong. Which I found interesting because he played obviously in the cup game with Pedersen, who was signed as a left-footed centre-back, but they both played in centre-back, so that was a bit of a weird one. But yeah, he also made his debut in that game. I was on the bench for Cardiff. He is only on loan, so there's obviously no contract there in terms of years. Wearing the number 32 shirt. He's only 20 years old. I didn't realise he was actually that young, considering he went to Olympiacos from Reading. So he must have been a good prospect when he left there.
Yeah, he turned Luton down for Olympiacos, and that was when Luton were verging on the Premier League. So, clearly was a project.
Yeah. He must have gone to, perhaps wanted the European football, maybe. But yeah, we can talk a little bit more about his performance as well. Obviously, he's new, same as Bianchini, so not judging too early, but a bit to discuss about them. And then we've got a backup goalkeeper, I think, is definitely fair to say, just while we're a bit short with Fisher's injury. John McLaughlin. Oh, I hate seeing names like this. They scare me these days. Short-term deal on what's that, till
January.
January, isn't it? Yeah. It says subject to international clearance. So, like,
It's because we're Welsh. It's always the same, even if we sign players from England, Scotland. Genuinely, I think that is.
I imagine it would be fine, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be all right.
Free transfer, I think he was recently with Rangers, but given a short-term spell, I guess it's a risk-free one. And if he did impress, there's no reason why maybe he wouldn't get extended. But I probably would. I think if all goes to plan and nobody gets injured, I'm not sure he'll even play. No, especially without the cup.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's just there to push the guru. It's probably difficult as a keeper if you think I haven't got anyone who's even capable of stepping into the net in a league game. You know you don't have to be at your absolute best to keep your number one shirt on, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, so he wears number 33. Also played in the League Two final. I played for Bradford when they got promoted as well.
Yeah, he came on, didn't he? In the final, in the League Cup final.
Remember the Guzman pen fiasco? Dyer wanted it.
Yeah.
He was the keeper who came off the bench after. I think it was Duke.
Oh yeah, so I missed the paragraph there. So yeah, he was in the League Cup final squad that we played Bradford, as the lads just said, and he got promoted with them in the same season. That's what I was reading. I missed half the conversation basically. So yeah, I guess that's just quite interesting, isn't it? How things go full circle like that. That's quite some time ago now as well, like 10 years.
Yeah.
You can go look at the trophy in the trophy cabinet now, can he? So
yeah, I know they were talking about it on Sky last night when they obviously in the game because of the League Cup. It seems to come up every time we play the first couple of rounds. They're like, oh yeah, remember when we won it? It's like 10 years ago now. 11 years ago.
To do anything.
You're making me question my life. 11 and a half years ago, that was. Christ.
Yeah, that was frightening.
That was a good day.
Let's just end it there.
More positive news. Sam Parker has actually signed a new contract now. Apparently he's excited for his future at the club. I'm assuming he's still injured because he hasn't really featured at all as he this season. I didn't really see him in pre-season either. But yeah, here until 2028. I think there was a bit of contention about him signing a new contract towards the end of the last season. So it's nice to see that sorted.
Yeah, he's currently injured, nearly back though. Whether it was agent talk or not, who knows? But there was supposedly interest from Premier League and abroad. But there's currently interest in Cullen, for example, coincidentally, as a year in his deal. You know, Darling's had a bid potentially knocked back for him. He's got a year in his deal. It seems like every time anyone has a year in his deal, clubs come circling. So very happy he's still here though. It's going to be a bit of an interesting one this season because, you know, we're playing with wingers and fullbacks. He's potentially more of a wing back. So how he slots in, I don't really know. But Abdullahi has covered wing and fullback so far this season. So hopefully Parker does get minutes if he bides his time.
The club describe him as a wide player who can play as fullback, wing back, or winger. So he should be able to get game time.
Yeah, to be fair, that's probably an area we need
to do a season, is he? So like we're going to maybe need another right back at some point, and Abdullahi's slotting wherever at the moment. So I mean, there's obviously a gap for somebody to come in and do well.
Yeah, I'd imagine we'll probably see him at some point in the season.
Potentially, if we need to do a tactical flip, I'll probably feel more confident with Parker at right wing back maybe than Key. Just because of it, maybe that added a little bit of pace. So obviously Tymon's probably more naturally suited to being a wing back, the way he attacks down the line as well. We've now got 3 centre backs, one of which is left footed in Nelson Abbey. So obviously,
you still discredit Pedersen.
Well, we'll get on to the game from last night.
Technically, there's 4 centre backs, and 2 of them are left footed.
Well, he's not a centre back. I can't.
Last night.
I can't sit here and say he's a centre back. I really can't. And this isn't me pretending like we have worse players than him, but it's also the style of play. We saw, again, we'll get on to the game, but we saw what playing out from the back looked like with him, Chouard and Fulton all together in close proximity. It don't work. It really don't work.
I generally didn't think Pedersen was that bad last night, but we'll get to it later. It's quite funny. Martin Magiston has been named as a Wales goalkeeping coach, obviously left England, and now he's going to make the move to Wales, join Craig Bellamy.
Yeah, I left England, obviously staying at Swansea as well, which is the important thing. Obviously regarded as one of the better goalkeeping coaches in the game if he was first senior team for the English FA. So maybe it's just a family thing. Maybe it's just a new challenge. I don't know. But the important thing is he's still here. It's just we won't have him on international duty still. So hopefully he does well for Wales. Obviously, we all want that as well.
Yeah. I mean, he's been in Wales before. I think he worked under Coleman during 2016. So going back to Wales, Lawrence Vigouroux has been called up to the Chile squad, which, fair enough, probably won't play, I wouldn't have thought. And I'm not trying to be negative. He can't be their best keeper. That's all I'm saying. He's still rusty. Maybe we'll see. And Ji-sung Om has been named in the South Korea squad, returning after his first cap as well. I think for the first time, which is positive. It's just again he's been a bit flat the last couple of games, which we'll get into. But hopefully this is good for him and his motivation and confidence and all the rest of it. So good luck to him. They are going to face Palestine and Oman. So that's I guess they're expected to win both fixtures.
They say Palestine.
Yeah.
They have a football team.
Yeah. It's World Cup qualifiers, apparently.
If they, the thing is, I was hoping we weren't going to have that many international call-ups, but well, not hoping. I'm glad obviously we come on to the Welsh call-ups, but
a lot of travelling for those two, and when
that's what I mean. If you've got
goalkeeper, that's
when you've
ideal.
got players, when you've got players like for example, that's got to go to Oman and Palestine. That's probably him basically out of the West Brom game, isn't it?
I think they're both at home. So
sorry, not West Brom game. It'll be
West
Brom game's next Norwich game after the international break. Yeah,
you may have tired legs.
Yeah,
maybe you won't start that game. We need to get Bianchini up to speed then, don't we? Okay, so that's all the news. Now let's start on the football.
Well, we had Ollie Cooper as well got back to the Wales squad.
Sorry. So Ollie Cooper got called up. Callan and Cabango, is it? I think as well.
Yeah.
One last one. I don't know how true it is. Just rumours. Josh Thomas maybe going on loan to Bromley. I have no clue if that's just someone pretending to be in the know. But he wasn't in the squad last night, which we all thought was odd. Yeah, we all thought it was odd he would in the 18, seeing as it was a cup game at home, didn't we? So
it's all right. He made his debut for 3 minutes and got a yellow card.
Solid.
I feel a bit like it's harmless having him if we're not going to sign the striker. But Luke Williams, if he sends him out on loan, I've got to support that and hope that it works out for Josh Thomas.
For what it's worth, if he does go to Bromley, Cameron Congreve is also there, and he seems to be doing quite well and enjoying himself. So maybe that makes sense.
It's a good team to go to because they've just gone into like the league, and the league system from non-league. It's quite a big buzz around the club right now. So I'd imagine it's a good atmosphere. You're getting good backing from the fans, and it's probably a good place to go and show what you can do.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I did actually watch one of their games. I think it may have been against, I want to say Harrogate, on like the Sky Sports Plus thing, just to see how Congreve would do. And to be honest, they played better stuff than I was expecting as well. It certainly wasn't the most direct style of play. They were actually playing through the thirds a bit. Congreve was finding the ball in space. He's playing like right centre mid for them, weirdly.
Right centre mid?
Yeah, like number 8. Then coming in on his left foot. And he looked all right, to be fair. So I think the striker...
I don't actually know what his position is anymore because he's played cam, winger, wing back, and now apparently centre mid. So it's like Abdullah all over again.
Still finding his best position. I guess he is only just turned 20 as well. We forget how young Congreve is, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it does well for him. He's definitely one still to watch. I haven't been the best year or so for him since Russell Martin kind of chucked him in the deep end and then withdrew him. But yeah, hopefully he can find his feet now. Right, so speaking of which, let's discuss the games. So starting with Cardiff, probably take the chunk of the video, but some of it might morph into discussion about Wycombe because I think there is some similar concerns that continue through both games. So just for full, to make sure everyone is aware of where we are, Swansea Cardiff ended 1-1. Swansea Wycombe ended 0-1. Swansea obviously lost in the cup to lower league opposition for another year. I guess it happens more often perhaps than it should, I think. But yeah. We're not the only team that it happens to be fair. I saw some people comparing it to Havant or to Waterlooville. Don't know if it was that bad.
Yeah,
Ipswich lost to Wimbledon yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say Ipswich went out. Yeah.
It's not the
Sheffield United lost to Barnsley, didn't they?
Yeah, I know it's same league, but Middlesbrough lost 5-0 to Stoke tonight. It was a bit of an odd result. The early cup.
Yeah, after beating Leeds like massively comfortably in the previous round.
these early cup rounds always throw up some dodgy results because they're early on in the season. But
Steven
there's more to it
Schumacher
than
mind
that.
though,
for us, I think.
Stoke. I think he's starting to make a bit of an impression there. Might be their year where they actually don't be shit.
The first
Apologies
year
for the language. I don't often swear, but yeah.
The first year I've actually predicted them to not be like top 14 as well from memory. So that would just be perfect, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so Cardiff game. Tale of two halves, I think, fair to say. What are our thoughts then? Initial impressions. The start.
Yeah, go on then. I'd
He's frozen.
just initial thoughts
He's
now
back.
that initial thoughts that now that we're a couple of days removed from the game, I think probably a poor game. I think a draw was probably a fair result in the end. I think first half we looked okay. We got a goal from nothing really, and I think the feeling was that I think from everyone, Cardiff fans, Swans fans, and maybe a little bit on the pitch, that we were gonna go on and win it, like because we have done in the last, in recent history, especially at home. We go on and win the derby, and I think maybe that kind of leaked onto the pitch a bit because the game was awful after that. But I think second half, I think Cardiff probably were good value for a draw. But I didn't see anything massive from either side really. It was a bit of a poor game, so that's the initial thought on it. We can dig into a bit deeper.
Just to start on that, Cardiff haven't scored at the Swansea.com stadium in over 10 years. I think 2011 was the last one.
They scored behind closed doors.
Yeah, past,
yes,
that one.
with fans watching.
Yeah.
Asterisks. But yes, go on, Ben. You can give your recount.
Yeah, so game of two halves, like we said. I feel like we won the first half. Cardiff definitely won the second half. Went into the game thinking, right, hopefully we get an early goal, settle the nerves out, calm things down a bit. For the first 5 minutes before the goal, I'd say Cardiff started pretty well, pressed us pretty well, played it pretty quickly, and that we were all concerned. Then, as Lee alluded to, we get a goal pretty much out of nothing, a couple of deflections and dodgy touches, and all of a sudden, Cullen's got tapping. Well placed for the goal. I'm not taking that away from him, but definitely an element of fortune about it. Then you could probably say that rattled Cardiff. Next 20, 25 minutes or so, they sat back, fell into their shell a bit like they normally do in the derby. They're not really pressing us high. Grimes had the freedom of Swansea, just a good 5 yards of space all around him every time he picked up the ball, which really should have led to more chances, unlocking the defence, splitting the midfield, all of the above. It didn't happen. Had tons of the ball, but it was primarily just Cabango and Darling playing it back and forth on the halfway line. Then obviously, we started to see the tide turn a bit. The last 5 minutes of the second half, Cardiff had a few needless set pieces. Went in halftime thinking, right, just glad we're 1-0 up. And then we just didn't come out second half. Obviously, Cardiff slightly changed what their approach was, but the big change was I think they made a triple sub, maybe even 4 subs at once. Completely changed their front four. Colwell obviously coming on, Robinson coming on, and Ollie Tanner, who obviously loves playing us, coming on. And we made probably more pragmatic negative substitutions, and the game obviously turned the way that we expected it to. The big one was Franco coming off. I feel like everybody in the stands called that as soon as he came off. He's been the best player on the pitch by a mile, bailed out our midfield, our defence multiple times. Luke Williams came out after the game and said it was because he'd hurt his arm. He was probably tiring a bit. I feel like if he had played 90 minutes, honestly, it could have been a very different story.
Yeah. Yeah, I was very frustrated. I think I say tale of two halves, right? And my biggest concern from this game, and again, the Wycombe game actually, it's a continuous theme, is the chances we're creating. There's a few more in the Cardiff game. We had, I think, 9 shots and 4 on target, I want to say it was. Yeah, 9 shots, 4 on target. You're right in what you said about the Cullen goal. It was very fortunate. It was a good finish in the end, but there was a couple of ricochets in the build-up, and then when the cross did come in, Cullen made an absolute hash of the initial shot before Ronald, to be fair, forces a good save out of the keeper, and Cullen has a tap-in as a result of that save. Whatever, you take how they come. But I just don't remember another notable chance thereafter. There was perhaps one opportunity where we won the ball from, I think it was like a free kick in Cardiff's half, and just passed it straight to either Ollie Cooper or Cullen, and he just didn't pass the ball quick enough to whoever was running through. That sort of decisiveness and correct decision making in the final third is just completely missing at the moment. And I don't see any progress from any game. Take Preston out of it, okay. I know we scored 3 there. We were against a team in a bit of disarray. They went through 3 managers in that week, or they were under 3 managers within a week at that point. So, yeah, okay, you can only play what's in front of you, and that's fair. But in terms of a reference for where we are, I don't think it's the best example. I think we struggled to score against Gillingham until they had a red card, and we made some late subs, and they made some actions late on in that game. And we've struggled to score against Cardiff, and we really struggled to score against Wycombe last night. So for me, there's just no progress in what we're trying to do in an attacking sense. And if I remember back to last season, I think a lot of those concerns were present in the last 5 to 10 games as well, when our season kind of fizzled out. After we kind of got over the line of not really being in a relegation fight, we just seemed a bit toothless. And I'm a bit worried that we don't have a direction to fix that, even though he's had the backing of attacking resources and may yet still be more to come. Yes, okay, you've got to give that time, 100% understand that. But it's not about the individual players not making that difference. Like I said, this is a theme carried on from last season for me. And I don't see what he's trying to do to create those chances, if that makes sense. I don't know if either of you can allude to what the actual game plan is there, but the balls just don't seem to be getting in. It's like we're playing all the way around the box without actually doing anything within it. The strikers are not touching the ball. I think Vipotnik had like 8 touches in his minutes up to like 70 minutes in the Wycombe game last night when I checked. And it's a consistent theme with both him and Cullen. Every match, they're just not touching the ball. And I'm a bit worried about that. I think Cullen had a better game against Cardiff, granted, but like you've just alluded to, the kind of south for like the entire first half. Cullen had 20 touches against Cardiff, so a little bit better. And obviously got a goal, which he had 2 attempts at. But other than that, I can't remember a notable opportunity. Do you have one you can talk about?
No, honestly. And my worry is that we're becoming one-dimensional. And what I'm saying here probably applies to both the Cardiff game and the Wycombe game. This is where it crosses over a little bit. But I feel like when Cullen plays, we saw against Cardiff, we are able to go off and press, especially Cooper just behind him and the wingers who come in. We do press and we press well. And that puts teams on the back foot a bit. What we saw against Wycombe is like the best comparison I can make is of anyone watched England in the Euros when they tried to press with Harry Kane. And they just couldn't, because as soon as you got that central focal point who can't press like everyone else around him, it just makes it incredibly easy to for teams to play through us. Wycombe were playing through us. This wasn't like, Wycombe were lumping it long, they're winning second balls, and they nicked a goal. They created more chances than us. They were playing out of whatever press we attempted to do. They were clearing everything we put into the box with ease. We're very one-dimensional now, as you just said, Luke. We are very much a team now that will play it back and forth between the centre-backs primarily, headed out to the full-back. All the teams have to do is set in a 4-4-2 or 4-3-3. They'll have the centre mid or the winger on that side where the ball is drop in to help the fullbacks. They know they're going to go down the line. Can't play through them down the line, pass back to the midfield where Grimes or Fulton is.
Go the other side.
Same again. And eventually we loop a ball into the box, which is easy for someone to clear.
So this is why I've pulled this up, Ollie Cooper, yeah. I think we've given him a little bit of stick, saying he's not really done much recently. I think after seeing in the middle last night, I feel like Ollie Cooper's actually been playing okay, to be honest. When you got that direct comparison, early days for his first game he started there, but he was invisible. And at least Ollie Cooper's getting involved. Now, I think the issue is less so that Ollie Cooper's not having that impact on games he had when he first burst onto the scene in that first season. Look at that heat map about where he's kind of being asked to play in the areas of the pitch. He's playing in the centre attacking midfield position. He's not using the ball at all in that part of the pitch. He's going both wide to support, I guess, each side, the wingers, which is clearly showing that's what we want to do. We want to go in the wide areas. But for me, that's just getting sussed out and defended all the time too easily. But then you've got the Cam on the pitch, but you're not willing to then try and use the middle. You're still trying to just go wide all the time. It's like there's a reluctance. If your Cam has got a heat map like that, when you've got 70% of the ball, or whatever it finished on for this game, let me double check now. 61% of the ball. It was obviously a lot higher in the first half. that's an issue. Like, I don't understand it. I genuinely don't understand it. How can your central attacking midfielder have a heat map that's more sort of prominent on both sides, and like, what, has he even touched the ball in the middle of the park according to that?
If you look at the heat map, you have to go all the way back to the near enough the center circle before you actually see a bit of yellow. There's a tiny bit like in the box on the top corner.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there's nothing there.
That's probably why the striker's not getting the ball, because the only way that they have a chance of getting the ball is if it's crossed into them, and then you either score because it's a good cross, or you don't because it's not a good cross, generally, or it's lumped up from the keeper and you have a touch because you headed it onto your teammate. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's poor.
The issue we're having as well, I touched on it previously, the tactical idea that we're going with this season where the fullbacks are inverted and we're doing it all parts of the pitch. Like if you pull up Timon's heat map, if you can, that'd probably be an interesting one just to see if it lines up with what I'm saying.
Get Timon and Ronald.
So if you look at the final third, you've got the heat map on the inside. It shows that he's coming inside of Ronald, making an inside run. Key probably isn't doing it as much because we've primarily been doing it on the left. The main game where this happened was probably Preston more than anything, to be honest with you. But then, like, what it probably does is eliminates an overlapping run. You saw with Cooper there, he's not taking up central positions. I also can't seem to remember Cooper drifting out wide and trying to make a third man run beyond the fullback or the winger as well. It just makes you think like that there doesn't seem to be a clear idea of how we want to play into the box, because every ball that's gone into the box has been wayward. That no one actually is receiving the ball to feet in the box very often, are they? I don't remember Vipotnik or Cullen ever receiving the ball into feet anywhere near the 18-yard box.
No, I think like when Vipotnik came on as well, like he didn't. I don't know. We didn't. The balls were going into the box less then as well. I think like obviously the game had changed and Cardiff had come into it, but I thought when Vipotnik come on, like, oh, here we go. Even if we do start getting some balls into the box, maybe he can start making a nuisance of himself. But I don't think we even saw that when he came on. I think he was really quiet when he came on because we didn't have much to do. But yeah, like you said there, I think if we're trying to identify what the plan is, I think you can sort of see what he's trying to do is very heavy going wide, which is what we thought it was going to be. But the danger is, which was the case at the end of last season, which we moaned about, and even under previous managers and everything, we're so easy to play against. Like we're so easy to defend against. I think the way Cardiff got it spot on tactically against us, and I think that will become a blueprint for a lot of teams this season who play against us now.
I think it already has.
But I think Cardiff more so. I mean, if you take out that goal we scored, which came from nothing, which we were lucky to get, we didn't do anything. I don't think we would have done anything if we were still playing that game now. I think they sat off a little bit. They pressed when they had to. They let Darling have the ball, and they kind of let him come out a lot, especially in the first half. They were happy for him to have it and come out. And then we just didn't have anything. They had a solid sort of back line. The midfield was solid, and we couldn't break them down. Like you said, side to side, up one wing. If Ronald can't take on his winger, they go the other way. And then who was quiet, didn't do anything, and that was it. That we huffed and puffed, and that was it. So it is a bit worrying.
Quiet. Both wingers were quiet. I think I've said it about I like Ronald when he's flying, he's great, yeah. But it's too often that he's not there. He doesn't do that, and that might not be his fault. Maybe it is what we're discussing now, with this over reliance and going in the wide areas. It's easier to mark then because they know that's what all is coming. There's never that alternative of Ollie Cooper's in the middle of the pitch, going to pass it into him. He's going to turn and take a man on, run at a slow centre back and try and make a gap that way. That doesn't happen. So they don't need to worry about it. I think centre backs for the teams we're up against just have an easy ride at the moment.
The centre backs in the last game barely needed to be there, did they? They were there to clear balls away. Not once can I really remember them having to track a Vipotnik, run that a ball found Vipotnik and ran in behind. I was expecting at some point to see Vipotnik drop off, and because Ji Sung-yun was in the middle, perhaps make a run behind because he dragged a centre back out. That didn't happen. These probably weren't like spectacular centre backs they were playing against either. That's the thing. Like, even though they were clearing it easy every time the ball came in, it wasn't because they were perfectly positioned and had great technique to get rid of it. A lot of them were hash clearances. It's just they weren't under any pressure and the delivery was poor. So they were able to get away with it for 90 minutes. I feel like most championship sides, had they gone up against that Wycombe side, they would have put up that 18-yard box under the cosh for most of the game and had a lot more success.
Yeah, I think the issue is you're playing passive football, right? Teams are going to let you have the ball. You're then pushed up the pitch, controlling possession. So there is no space in behind. So then it's on you to create space and be technical and take players on and move the team around. And it doesn't look like we're good enough at doing that in a way to actually create a chance.
Yeah, and on that as well, I'm just reminding myself of the Cardiff game when I'm saying about when they let Darling have the ball and come out. There were a couple of times, especially in the first half, where they were putting that ball in behind. So like Darling would come out, Timon would be pushed on up to Ronald, and they were playing that ball in behind on the counter attack. I think we kind of saw it a little bit for the Cardiff's goal, but it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely a blueprint to play against us, and that's worrying when you become so predictable. It's worrying.
And we've said Tymon's been great since he signed, but I think he might have. It's an argument to say he's had a slow start of the season, but then is it because of the reliance on what he can do?
Yeah, it's
easier to defend.
It's difficult because we said like they rely so heavily on the wings. That's how they're going to attack. And when we look at it, I think Timon and Ronald down the left-hand side are probably our best attacking threat. Like Key and I thought, like we said, they were quiet against Cardiff. So we're literally so heavily reliant on Timon and Ronald to get forward. And, you're 3 games into the season and Timon looks tired. Like, I mean, they haven't played, when I know they've had pre-season and but when you're playing 3 matches like that in a week, Timon just looks wrecked. And we saw that for the Cardiff goal. I think he was just out on his feet. So I do have a little bit of sympathy for him. I think because he's being asked to do so much going forward, I think he does have to sacrifice his defensive responsibilities a little bit. But we have no one else. We have no one else that can do that.
Yeah, and you're right saying he sacrifices his defensive responsibilities. I think since he's been here, there has been quite a few goals that have come down that side. Now, whether that's his fault or the fault of what he's been asked to do is a conversation. But I think it is fair to say he's better going forward than defensively. But you're right in that there's no one else to actually do that job, put pressure on or cover when it's needed, when he's a bit tired.
It's not, and again, I mean, it's not just Timon either. I think, like I said, I don't want to praise them too much, but I think Cardiff got it spot on where they let Darling, who was the left centre-back, come out. They know Timon's going to push forward, and then there's this massive hole in behind, and that's where we're going to get caught out.
Let's speak about Darling specifically. Lucky to not have been booked or worse early on.
I feel like the ref definitely went in with a mindset of let's try wherever possible for both teams to limit bookings because he wants to keep control of the game and not let it, boil over. If you look at the graphic there, what were there? 2 yellow cards and a red card.
I think they all came late, didn't they?
And they all came late. So you'd have to say from that perspective, the ref did a good job of keeping a hold on things. In a normal game, would Darling have got booked earlier on? Yeah, probably. This is where referees, they don't have it easy. You could say it should be the same every single week regardless, but there is a risk, especially with games that are as feisty as these. If you chuck out bookings at really early days in the first 10 minutes, each team ends up just endangering themselves. So you do get it. It's a tough one. I'm not a referee, so obviously I don't know the ins and outs of what if the referee did was acceptable or not. You could argue it was, you could argue it wasn't, I suppose. Darling, the booking came really late on, right? It was like in the bust up between him and Colwell.
Yeah. What caused that?
I don't even know.
Apparently, I've heard that he's done something to Colwell, hit him in the face or something of that sort. But I've not. I'll have a quick.
I haven't seen it back. I don't know if it was the same. I don't know if it was the same incident, but they said that the keeper went down as well, didn't they? And they said that he kind of left a foot in on the keeper, but I can't remember if that was the same incident.
Scroll down. How many of the subs got booked? Colwell, I think, did as well, didn't he?
Yeah, Colwell.
Yeah, and NG
together.
And that's it.
Sure. The 3 of them in that in a 90 plus 10. Yeah. Alan got booked, but that was separate.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm blind. I couldn't even see that all on the left hand side of the screen.
Yeah, Alan he chopped someone down, didn't he, Alan? Just like a tactical yellow.
I think he didn't need to as well. We were on the ropes.
Yeah. Yeah, he did as well. Yeah,
You can't really see it on the replay. I think I can't work out who it is on the floor for Cardiff. Might be, I don't know if it's Caldwell. It doesn't look like he's blonde. Darling like runs over to him and either says some abuse, but he gets quite close with his feet as well. So I don't know whether there's a bit of naughtiness going on, but all the Cardiff players react to it very negatively, and there's a bit of handbacks in there. So
I know Darling left his face in a bit on, I think it was Caldwell as well. So you could argue he could have got booked for a couple of the instances that,
he's a wind-up and he's worked in previous games, and you always run the risk of playing the referee, and maybe sometimes it doesn't go in your favour. I think Ryan Manning used to do it as well. Oh, there we are. So after the scuffle, him and Caldwell peel off and they've got each other in, well, hands to neck, essentially. So that's probably why they both got booked.
I think Darling was fortunate as well. He was buying so many free kicks in the first half. I was waiting for the ref not to give one of them, to be honest. They were all so soft. Like in a normal game, I think in a normal game, again, the referee may have been inclined to just let it go, but he didn't want to be seen as the ref who's live on Sky gifting Cardiff a goal when he got tripped and he couldn't see it.
I hated that. That's what I was saying about Darling. Like I said, they were letting him have the ball and come out, and then when they went to engage him, he was just going down. And I was saying to my mate who sat next to me, thinking, you cannot do that when he's the last man, especially when he'd had like 3 or 4 fouls, soft ones. And I think after that, he could have easily have not given them. And one of them, I think it was the last one in the first half where he like hit it with his hand, didn't he? When Ramsey kind of didn't really touch him and he went down and moved the ball with his hand. But yeah, that was dangerous. That was.
He did stop giving them in the second half. I've just seen they just zoomed in on it afterwards. Darling's fronting up. I can't work out who it is he's having the actual incident with, but he's fronting up to him, getting quite close with his head, and a Cardiff player just falls down like the sniper's just shot him. Probably trying the same thing, isn't he? The whole mighty thing from the last game where Darling went down like a sack of potatoes after the little headbutt or whatever it was. And I think it's like the flip of that, if you like. And then all the Cardiff players are asking for a red or whatever. There's another big incident to talk about. Cardiff's manager, Bullet, got a red card. So there was actually a red card in this game. I don't know if you bet on a red card, if that counts, mind, but
no,
he got a red card for not giving the ball back on a throw-in is probably the best way to describe it. Apparently it's because Aaron Ramsey was down with a head injury. However, when it started kicking off, Aaron Ramsey got up quite sharpish, so clearly didn't need to stop the game. So I don't really think there's any argument there.
It's just a bit of a mess. When the physios run on as well, didn't he? And when as soon as they run on the pitch, he jumped up, didn't he? Because I think so he didn't have to go off. But I actually think at that time, because Cardiff had scored in like the 80th minute, I think at that time the melee and then the Bullet red card and everything, I think that kind of not saved us. I want to say that Cardiff would definitely have gone on to win the game, but if anybody was going to win it at that point, it was going to be Cardiff. And I think all those like scuffles and the manager thing, I think that just broke up the end of the game then. Whereas I think that kind of worked in our favour a little bit.
It was panic stations, wasn't it, for the last 5 or 10? It was just everyone was falling over the ball. We were hitting it long because we were scared to play through them because they were pressing us too well. Fresh front 4. It was it was really just that's not another word, disturbing, concerning.
That's why I think it was stupid from Cardiff, really, like from the manager and like the players getting involved in that scuffle. Because I think if they just let the game flow, I think they might have created another chance. Because I think we were done at that point. Like we didn't have anything else to offer.
No.
And then all that at the end of the game kind of just like fizzled it out. So I think it worked in our favour.
All I want to say is, though, Carl Norton was an absolute legend in all of that. He just comes from behind the manager, takes the ball out of his hand and just says, look, mate, get back in your area. And I don't know if you saw the press conference afterwards from the Cardiff assistant manager, because obviously the new ruling means Bullock couldn't do the press stuff. He was like, oh, it's harsh because Norton pulled him onto the pitch. Mate, everyone can see the footage. Don't just lie. Like, literally, you can see the footage, and that did not happen. He's on the pitch before Norton even turns up. Like, I don't see the point. The amount of crying they were doing after the match. You got this specifically where they were moaning about that, and then the whole thing with the advertising board on Ollie Tanner. Like,
yeah, it was.
It's pathetic.
They always complain about something, don't they? This year,
the bubble trip, the bubble trip. Oh, but then that's why the bubble trip's a thing. You absolute idiots! Literally,
Not just the
Literally,
bubble
that is
trip.
why it's a bubble trip. And then you're
Well-
moaning it's the club that wants to put it in. Your players ran at the ground when you scored, and the advertising board fell over and injured your own player. Do not blame the security and the stewarding for your fans' stupidity. Like, there's no other way of putting it. It's just stupid.
I think I said on Twitter, it's basic physics, and if you have 400 people rush an advertising board, that's literally about 0.7 meters, 0.8 meters high, or whatever it is, and it falls over. No amount of stewards are going to stop 400 people rushing an advertising board unless they literally had one steward for every man and woman.
Yeah.
It's silly. And then go back. Obviously, they complain about the bubble trip. This has been the evidence why they can't. The bubble trip still needs to remain in place. Go back 2 years ago, they reported us to the police for doing the swim away. It's laughable, isn't it? It really is.
Pathetic.
Oh,
They
yeah.
are a
I
pathetic
forgot
club.
about
Oh, we are your capital. Well, maybe act like it then.
that.
Yeah, act like it.
I don't think I know we're the only bubble trip, but it is very, very annoying. Like when
Yeah,
we
I'm
go
not saying
away
it's
as
not
well.
annoying. It's not there to
But-
be convenient, is it?
No, but I agree with you. I think it needs to stay in place because I think it's
It will
getting worse.
go when they can be trusted that it doesn't need to be there. On that evidence, clearly, there's another example of why it is there. Now,
Yeah.
it's just stupid though. In one end, they're complaining, bubble trip, pathetic, club wants it, we don't want it, it's their fault, whatever. But then you're saying, hang on, their security arrangements are not good enough, our player got injured. It can't be both, lads. It can't be both.
I think the only way it ends, the bubble trip, is obviously we've had many years in a row now. I know COVID broke it up, but we've had many years in a row back to back of us being in the same league as Cardiff. So that's
Yeah.
two trips a year. Eventually, I feel like it almost happened this year, to be honest. The derby loses its like hype a little bit when you have so many in a row about someone getting promoted or relegated. To have a gap in between. Give it 10 years.
We've done a double as well, didn't they? That's all done now.
Give it 10 years, another 20 games, maybe then people won't get so riled up for it. The thing is, it is clear to see. You just got to look at people on the streets and the stadiums, home and away. It is just people out drinking heavily, possibly having some substances as well. It's just an excuse for that. The attendance goes up by 6k. We won't see those people again now all season unless we get an FA Cup run and draw City or something, or we're in a playoff run, or you know.
They'll go away to Bristol City and then that'll be it.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get rid of it for a long time. I know, like Cardiff will moan. But then they could get rid of it for they wanted to get rid of it for them to travel down to us. Now let's see if they want
won't,
to get rid
because
of
they'll
it
say
when we go up there.
They won't, because they want our fans to have to suffer the same as them. But then, their fans were boycotting it, but that looked like that actually happened as well.
Yeah, but going back to the advertising. Sorry, go on. You go first.
No, go on.
I was going to say, going back to the advertising boards, the same thing happened in the West Ham Palace game, I think it was, wasn't it? Where the West Ham fans absolutely like bombed onto the pitch and they like hit the ball boy over on the advertising board and say, but I don't, the West Ham fans can't then come out and say, oh, security was awful because 10,000 of us rushed.
Maybe the away team should pay for the security for their own fans. Just saying.
Yeah. If
It's
it's
an
not
issue.
a problem for them.
I'm just saying the ball boy actually was getting fully crushed by the advertising board. He just got up as if it never even happened. Can't say the same for Ollie Tanner, funnily enough, but there we are.
Nah, he probably went home crying to his mammy. But bad luck. He's one of them players, and he turns up for a derby, and he's probably had his best game for the season, even based on what I've discussed with other Cardiff fans. Apparently, he's been awful for them this season so far, and he just turns up for this one, same as what happened last year. You get players like that, don't you? But that's, I guess, what makes the derby what it is. So every team's going to have them. What I will say is there's another player in the Cardiff team who was visible, and that's Aaron Ramsey. Is he finished or what?
I hope not, seeing as he's captain of Wales still, according to Craig Bellamy yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's not going to change, is it? Because Craig Bellamy's boss now.
I just argue that he's not somebody who needs to be in that advanced role anymore. He needs to be somebody who sits deeper, potentially, maybe even in a midfield three.
Looks like Ollie Cooper's heat map.
And I guess what I'd also say is it's crazy to me after seeing Colwell in the cup last night against Southampton that Colwell didn't start in his place in number 10, honestly.
Yeah. Colwell needs to leave because I don't know how he's not starting week in, week out for Cardiff, honestly. Like, it's hard to say that about your rival team.
Am I right
just feel like they're making a mess out of him.
Am I right in saying he's from Swansea?
I believe he is.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, we dropped the ball a bit there then, didn't we?
And Mark Harris, and there's a couple of them got away.
Yeah, did you see Mark Harris's goal for Oxford
Oh,
and
Christ, no.
Colwell's goal for Cardiff last night against Southampton?
Yeah, that was nuts. I don't know. I guess you just don't take them on and then they're looking for another academy and go up there. You can't get them all right, I guess.
I mean, it
same
works
thing with
both.
Cabango.
Yeah, I was going to say it works both ways. We've had Cabango. We had a couple actually from further down Cardiff. Where I'm not saying anyone else has really made it through. But
He's from Neath, Colwell is.
Neath,
Apparently, and he's got the same birthday as me. Interested?
Oh,
if
yeah.
anyone's out there interested.
But yeah,
you know.
so,
But yeah, no, I
do
agree
think
with you. I think maybe if he started instead of Ramsey, it might have been a different game because he was all right.
No, I think if the team that finished that game started, we could have been in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, that the thing is with Ramsey, I think it's a bit of a like a fairy tale story, isn't it? I think they play him in the derby. I think they think Ramsey's going to score the winner or something, or he's going to do something.
He did last year, didn't he?
But you have got to. I think you have got to carry him a little bit because I think they probably just leave him on the pitch because he probably still can do something magical at any random point. But can you afford to carry him in a championship game? I don't know. But there was a bit in the first half. I remember it was really early on. It might have been the first 2 minutes where he came to press someone and then he stopped and he was hobbling. I thought, he's injured already. And he was grimacing and then after that he didn't really look like he was fit. I don't know if he was fit when they played him.
But he went off, didn't he?
In the game before,
game. So maybe he wasn't fully fit.
It's not how
he's been called up to Wales.
He has been called up to Wales. It's not to me how poorly he's managed, though. I was just going to say, sorry. 90 minutes in the first game of the league season, he played the full game but had to come off for the last minute and they went under 10 men in the second game. He played 90 minutes again against us as well. And you know how injury prone he is. It reminds me a bit of Liam Walsh when we were just chucking him on 90 minutes back to back. I mean, he's going to get injured eventually. Yeah,
it might be similar to last season where he played quite a lot early on in the season, didn't he? And then you didn't see him until the second derby where they tried to rush him back. But you can probably make the direct comparison with Joe Allen, like you said there, and the way that we manage him. I don't know. Maybe you could argue Joe Allen's injuries are worse because he seems to always be out. But yeah, I don't know. The pair of them, I think. I think they probably need to manage it better.
His wages are extortionate, though, to be fair.
Yeah, but maybe that's why they got to play him because they're they're paying him.
Okay, any positives perhaps we can look at? I think Franco's the one that stands out for me. What did you say, Ben? Sorry.
I said we didn't lose. That's
no double. We can't be having a double against us this year, so that's a positive. But I think Franco specifically, he was outstanding.
He was exceptional.
He was outstanding.
He was.
And it was noticeable when he wasn't there against Wycombe as well. I feel like he's only just signed, but he's already become a major player for us. Just probably not far off Grimes, honestly, how well he controls the midfield, breaks things up. He does everything that people don't recognise. So I do feel bad for him from that sense as well.
Yeah. But people keep saying about they're saying about the Wycombe game last night. We lost it in midfield. I don't think they are losing it in midfield necessarily. There might be elements of it that aren't ticking well. When these two played, they played very well together. Maybe when Franco went off, it changed. We already talked about the issues. Not going to go into detail about them again. My issue is our attack, where we're making chances. We're getting the ball to the wingers, and they're not making chances. I don't think our midfield's the issue. They're getting the ball to these attackers. The attackers are then not creating opportunities. But all I see when I go online is Matt Grimes can't play a ball through a defence, and Matt Grimes isn't able to play a ball forward. He's there to get it to the other players, the three in front of him, to do the chance creation.
It's not so much the attacking personnel as the attacking plan, though, isn't it? Which I know we've touched on. Grimes, fair enough. He barely ever loses the ball, but Grimes picks up the ball. You can almost guarantee he's either going to pass it to Fulton if he's on, and Fulton's going to pass it back to Grimes, or Grimes is going to pick his head up and try and find Timon if he's in space. Cabango picks up the ball. You can almost guarantee he's going to try and find Josh Key on the halfway line out wide. You know who each player is going to pass to before they've even released the ball. They never actually try and build through the third, through the middle. There's nobody doubling up trying to give Ollie Cooper a yard of space. There's no striker dropping off the back line trying to drag a centre back with him. Like you said, it just comes back just being predictable. I don't think it's fair to say when Ronald's picking up the ball and he's got a right back and a right centre back in front of him sometimes. Yeah. Why aren't we breaking teams down? It's because we have a plan to get the ball to the wingers, and from there it's just right improvise go.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the issue. Not Grimes and if it's Felton or whoever it is with him at the moment, Franco. I thought Grimes had a good game, I even thought Grimes had a good game last night, one of the better ones out of the team. But yeah, what was you going to say, Lee?
No, I was going to say I think I don't know. You might not agree with me, but I think the issue is in front of them. I think we don't play anything through the middle. I know Ollie Cooper's been better, but I still don't think he's the answer as a 10. He's just not. Like, we need somebody the way that we play, we need someone very creative in that middle role there. And we're just not good enough. We need another attacking option there in the middle, and I don't think, like I said, Ollie Cooper's been better, but is he gonna win you games week in and week out and do something and create something there? I don't
Williams
think so.
is allowing him to try. I don't seem to think he wants to play in the middle.
No, but when we had if you had in Cham was there, and as for all his faults, he was, he would chip in with a few goals and he would do something every time he was on the pitch. And then even when we had that time where Perot would drop in that hole and maybe Obafemi was in front of him or whatever, that was danger. I know it's different playing style, different team, but I think the way that we play, if we're going to play possession football, you've got to have someone in that middle pocket 10 there that can do everything.
I think Cooper's a differential option. He probably suits games where we're maybe struggling to get a foothold. What he can do is, if he can get a yard of space, he can pick the ball up and turn. He's quite good at drawing fouls, gets us a bit further up the pitch, allows things to calm down. Is he the sort of player you want when we have 60-odd, 70% possession, we're trying to break down a low block? No, because it reminds me a bit of Dan James, whereas as much as Dan James is a threat, he's a threat when he's got space in front of him. Different players, I know. But Ollie Cooper's never going to pick up the ball on the edge of the box and, beat one man, play a ball directly through the defence. Like, he isn't that sort of player. There is probably a number 10 missing in that squad. We're linked with that Pearl Harris on loan from Brentford. To be honest, I'm not particularly sold on that signing either. It feels like, we're probably a bit further down the list in terms of what number 10s we've been able to attract, and that's where we've landed if we do bring him in.
Yeah, and that
up
for
on
me
that guy
is
from Sweden, or?
By the looks of it, yeah, he's probably more of a winger anyway. Lameleskog more than anything. It feels like Bianchini, however you say his name, was probably the one we went after instead, from what I've read anyway.
Sorry, Lee, what was you saying?
Yeah, no, just building on what we were talking about. I think that's one of the major areas that we're missing. And I know, he wasn't great, but I think Patterson was probably better in that role where he could, and he didn't do it often last season, but he still had that thing where he could maybe chip in with a goal or maybe just beat one man and then just put in a ball or something. He could do something in that pocket, but I just don't think we have. I just don't think we have the quality at the minute. But that I'm not being too. I don't want to be too harsh on Ollie Cooper. I just don't think he's the answer in there.
I don't know if he's the answer, but I do think after seeing, and we'll move on to Wycombe now.
And Ben was spot on. I think you're right. I think when the game is open, he's very, with the Preston game. The game was wide open, and he was brilliant in that game. But then, like you said, where we're going to play 9 times out of 10 with 60% of the ball, and teams are going to sit in, like we said, there's a blueprint to play against us. I just don't think he's going to break teams down.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. I was going to come on to this, but
obviously
they tried on there, didn't they?
Yeah, 18 touches in 58 minutes. That's poor. That is poor. Okay, so we're moving on to Wycombe, and anyone that doesn't know the squad, it was quite a bit different from Cardiff game. I think Grimes and Ji-sung, and obviously the goalkeeper. Only 3 that kept their starting positions.
Yeah.
I was just highlighting Ji-sung in the middle because he played at 10 first time. There's been a lot of talk about it, though. He signed as a 10. He's been given a number 10. I've heard fans constantly saying, when we make our final signings, he's going to move into the middle. It's going to get better. He's put there against a League One team. Let's be honest. Let's be blunt. This isn't the Championship. This is a League One team. He's got on the ball 18 times in 58 minutes. That's not good enough.
And there was no pattern either to where I realise one thing is going to show up on all these heat maps for the front three and anyone who came on as well. They were constantly being swapped around. There was the same with Ronald when he came on. Abdullah ended up in the middle, right wing, right back. Ronald was on both wings. Ji-sung was in the middle and on left wing. So there wasn't really a pattern to what we were trying to do. I think it was so bad what we were seeing in the first half and second half, to be honest.
But a 73% possession, the team had 689 passes and he touched the ball 18 times.
There's plenty like that, though. I feel like Cullen, who came on, Vipotnik.
Yeah, but this is the problem, isn't it? You've got all this ball, you've got all these passes, but like these guys out the damage end of the pitch where you want to score the goals and not touching the ball. What are you doing?
Young Genie, I feel like I forgot he was even on the pitch. Like, I'm not being funny. If you click on all the defenders, I don't know how many passes they all made, but it just felt like Abby.
Abby, I mean, 56 passes.
And he got subbed. He got subbed when, though? He got subbed early, didn't he?
Yeah, and he got subbed on the same time as
58th minute.
Yeah, 58.
So he's a pass a minute for centre back. Pedersen 104.
That's a good accuracy. You're saying to put him passing from the back. That's decent, mate.
He wasn't having to pass anywhere, though. He was passing to Abby and Norton. Like, he looked more comfortable when he slotted into left centre back. He looked woeful at right centre back for the first 15 minutes. That makeshift.
He had the 7.4 highest score from our team.
Yeah, I don't buy into as much.
I'm just trying.
I know that you are winding me up with a question.
He's the answer. Get him in.
I just don't think
there's nothing against him. It's similar. There's nothing against him. I just feel like it's a representation of how bad our recruitment was last summer. Because even if you can say we're trying to switch style of play, it goes to show there was just no joined up thinking because he never works in the quote unquote Swansea way style of play. He never will either. It's like even if you play him left back, he's going to get killed by the wingers in this league. If you play him left centre back, he can't play out. And he's on big money.
I thought had a good game. Cal Norton had a good game. Matt Grimes had a good game, and I probably can't go anywhere else.
It stops there.
I think that Pedersen did okay, but we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah.
So other than those three names, keeper should have done better for the goal.
Yeah.
The goal specifically, let's talk about that then. It's just a throw in. I think, look, Choa had a bad game. There's no doubt about it. And it's easy to say it's his fault because it comes down his side, but we just all looked at it to me before we came live. And essentially, Nelson Abbey is marking the guy the throw in is thrown to. He then lays it off to the winger who Abdullah is marking. Abdullah lets him run past him, essentially. And then as a result of that, the winger's got a free run into the box. He then passes it back to the guy that passed to him in the first place, where Abbey was marking him, but Abbey is now not marking him anymore and has let him get a run on him. So between Abdullah and Abbey, they're at fault on the pitch for the goal. But then Vigaro's positioning was also a little bit odd.
It wasn't so much the positioning, he just guessed, didn't he?
Sorry. I mentioned the Cardiff goal, which we didn't actually talk about, did we? But
no. Kone comes in for the shot, and Viguro's just guessed that he's going to go keeper's bottom right, and he's gone to make a move towards that spot. And in the end, Kone's just gone the other way. He may have even seen that the keeper moved early and changed his mind last second. It feels like one of those ones that the keeper just stands up and waits to react instead. He has a much better chance of getting to it. It's not really it's not something you do as a keeper. Like, I'm not a keeper, but you don't guess.
Again, not. Yeah, I think one of the things we picked out, I think it was the Gillingham goal as well, and some of the goals that we have conceded. He seemed to me, I'm not a goalkeeping expert. He seems really slow to get down. So whether he's, and again, we look like, we said about the Cardiff goal, we looked at it and said maybe his positioning wasn't great because like the Robinson goal doesn't even go in the middle of the goals, and he's a full stretch. So, and he seems slow to get down. So whether that's I don't know, maybe watch his space. Maybe that's a reaction. Maybe he's trying to go early because he's slow to get down. Maybe he's trying to jump the gun a bit, and the players just put it the other way quite cleverly. I don't know. So I think
this one was more of a not going the right way. The Cardiff goal, which we didn't talk about, his positioning was off. I get why he's on near post initially because he's waiting for a cross to come in. I guess that's normal positioning, but he doesn't react quick enough to close any of the space off that he's left available. Had he done that, he probably saves it. I think Rushworth saves that if it's last season. The shot from Cardiff was basically straight in the middle of the goal, and he's at full stretch trying to get there, which
Yeah.
is an issue. We didn't talk about the car. I know we're on Wycombe now, but just as a highlight, for me, Cabango, awful defending for that goal. Has no idea where Callum Robson is. I know Timon gets beat on the wing, but as we discussed, probably a bit tired. Not, it's frustrating to see that happening, but we know the reasons there. And he has got beat, so you've got to react to that. The defensive line is running to mark, the other runners. But Callum Robson can just stop running, find a massive amount of space, and Cabango only reacts to that when he sees the cross come in. He doesn't know where he is. It's really bad.
No, spot on. He didn't track the run. He checked back over his shoulder to check if I can't remember who Norton was marking, just to check if that player was being marked, and he was.
El Ghazi was in.
Could have been, yeah. Somehow then doesn't scan back to his right just to see if who was rushing on. He may have done it at the last second, but by the time he actually looked over his shoulder at Robinson to see where he was, Robinson had stopped running, like you say, had 5 yards of space. Had all the time in the world just to slot it away. And then, as you mentioned as well, the Guru, for me, covers the near post far too much. I don't think he needed to cover the near post as much as he did, especially seeing as I don't think Tanner was ever going to try shoot from there. There was nobody making the run at the near post that he needed to worry about either. Could have easily probably taken a step or even two to his right, preempting the cross into the box. He's in a more central position to react. And then, yeah, as you say, I don't think he was ever going to get to the strike after coming from Robinson, but it wasn't exactly far in the corner. It was. I feel like the goal came because of obviously Cabango not tracking the run, but also poor positioning from Viguru.
Yeah. And this goal then, it's all on Abdullah and Abby. Like, you give Abby the benefit of the doubt because he's just come in and he has gone into a game, first game. Okay, I understand that. So we cut him some slack. It was poor from him, but Gigi had a poor start. It doesn't mean he's going to continue to be like that when maybe, I don't know when he's played, how often he plays at Olympiacos, whatever. Abdullah, though, I just don't know. I'm not sure what to say.
I'll say before we come on to Abdullah, because I think we've got to kind of address that situation. But I think the back four in general, I think it was kind of thrown together. Like Pedersen, Abbey, and Choa in particular. Norton was better, and that led to the goal, that particular incident. But they had a couple of chances before that. Wycombe, they were just cutting the back four apart, and then Abbey as well, and across the park, like passes were so loose, and it was just that the entire back four really, particularly in the first half, they were just all over the shop. There was one where Abbey passed it into touch, didn't he? And there were so many loose passes, and they should have scored it. They probably should have scored a second.
It's probably bad management from Luke Williams, to be fair. Like, maybe he needs to bring these players on in the second half for their debut after the game settled a bit. But we probably lost this game because we didn't take it by the scruff of the neck, and they lost control so early on. Then they could never get back into the game.
Yeah, we could have been 2 or 3 down in the first half. They had a couple of decent chances. So that and that says it all. That's just really bad performance, particularly in our first half. I know we did kind of come back in as you'd expect because they dropped in then second half. They 1-0 up and they had something to defend, but that was really, really poor. Luke Williams alluded to it in his press conference. He said there were way too many mistakes where there was no excuse. And he said, passing into touch where there's no one even pressing you. I think that's directly, I'm sure it was Abbey that did it in the first half, where he passes it into touch. I'm pretty sure it was him.
And it's fine for him to highlight these things. I want to see better now. Actually, sort it out on the pitch. I feel like when he first came in and he was quite blunt on bad performances in press conferences, everyone was all over it, like, this is a breath of fresh air. He's this, he's that, he's the other. I think I've heard it a lot now where it's wearing off.
Yeah.
And where does the buck stop?
Did it last night as well. He said, there's absolutely no excuse for, the low intensity in the first half and all that. He saed that before. He said that in a couple of games last year as well. There's no excuse for this. No excuse. Well, can't keep saying that.
And I'm not saying sack him because I don't know what
No, God,
I don't want that. I don't want another limbo season, and I want it to work out. But he needs to fix it. He needs to put his money where his mouth. If it hadn't worked out by next summer, maybe there's a conversation around it. Yeah, whatever. We'll get there when we get there. I don't want a mid-season sacking. I want to give him the season, but I'm going to call out what I see is wrong. Defensively, I don't think we've really improved since I still think it's an issue since Steve Cooper left. And I think we got worse offensively, ultimately. Now, I know there's some big names that have been taken out of that. So then we give time for the new guys to see if that helps. But we didn't have a shot on target in this game. We did not have a shot on target against Wycombe at home. We're not even away. It's not even like a rough cup tie away at a lower league ground. We were at home. Not even one shot on target.
That worries me, and it's not just a one-off either. I think it was the same against Middlesbrough away, wasn't it, in first game?
Yeah, but Middlesbrough away in the Championship first game of the season, you're pissed off, but it's Middlesbrough away.
No, I know, but I mean,
they were going to be up there. This is like not good enough.
But this is not the first time we've had
zero
shots or one shot on target in a game. It's not the first time. It's just kind of a recurring thing. So yeah, I don't know. I win no win here. Like I've seen some people calling for his head and stuff. I think that it's just ridiculous at this stage. But we do need to see some improvement because the stuff, like we said, the stuff we were moaning about at the end of last season has carried over into this season, and hope that I'm just optimistic that the new signings have still got to come in. We're only 3 games into the season.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new players that have come in this year. There's a lot of changes, so let them bed in after the international break. October, November time. Hopefully, the plan starts to work and we start seeing it a bit different. But yeah, like you said, at the moment, it's not great. Last night was just one of the worst performances we've seen in a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, I think speed and intensity are two of the key words, or lack of it. More like, I think Barra, obviously, that was the key phrases coming out of the game. We just looked slow, lethargic. We saw it again against probably Gillingham, and then more so against Wycombe. Cardiff, I don't really want to use the Cardiff game as too much of a blueprint for what we'll look like, because it's such a tough game for both sides. It's not really representative of either team, I would say. And then Preston, obviously, the disjointed Preston side that came here. That's the only game we've probably come out with any major credit so far this season. We actually played quickly and made good runs beyond the back line and what have you. I got to say, to the front four, when these players have been signed, especially like Ji-sung, Bianchini, I know he's only had a game so far, Ronald, obviously, as well. They do on paper all look like versatile players. So I was kind of expecting us to maybe interchange a bit more during our build-up play, but we just look quite pragmatic a lot of the time. They're quite fixed into certain positions. Obviously, then they'll swap wings, but what I mean is when we actually get the ball to the final third, there's no we're not trying anything new. It's very much right. You're the right winger. Okay, run at the fullback.
You don't see Ronald running in field, do you? And running through the middle, trying to do something a bit different, take on a different player who's not expecting it.
You could even see, again, I've said it a few times, striker drop back, one of the midfielders run beyond, just anything to try and mix it up and disorientate the opposition a bit, ask questions of them, see if they have to track certain runs, and like I say, it's just predictable.
Yeah, it's that's the worrying thing. But I think the most annoying thing for me last night was, even though they made so many changes, like you said, you still want to see what the game plan is. You still want to see and then they chuck these new players in, and I thought, Bianchini coming in and going into 10. I thought, all right, here we go. This is where we're gonna start to see the, what we're gonna do, and then it just didn't materialize. Like nothing happened, and then, we were sold on, Luke Williams coming from Notts County. It was goals, threat. Even if you win 4-3, but it's just been completely different to that, isn't it? It's
no goals.
Attacking with no threat, no goals, and still conceding.
We had around a half hour at full strength, remember? When Ronald, Simon Gabango came on, and Alan and Cullen came on a bit as well.
Yeah.
I know Franco was a big miss, but we were only really Franco and Franco and Key,
Darling,
and that's it. And you could argue Norton. Norton's our best player.
No one's good enough to start at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's concerning, definitely is.
Yeah.
Norton
kept going into midfield in the first half, and I think he actually got 2 of our shots.
Yeah,
which is like the experienced head trying to make things happen, not afraid to shoot from outside the box, which everyone else apparently is. I know they didn't end up in goals, but I don't criticize him for having a go. And I think one of his shots was from the left side of the actual box. He's literally up in midfield trying to make something happen, which
in the number 10 position where there was space. Funny that.
Yeah.
There we are. You can see it on his heat map.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing. I feel like we've gone nuclear now with criticism, but I guess that's the only thing you can criticize our midfield on, is they don't chip in with enough goals. I think Grimes has got a lovely left foot. You rarely see him let one go, and when he does, it's not far off. Or he hits a beautiful strike, but you just don't see it happen often enough.
I think it's been coached out of him, I'll be honest. I genuinely think it's been coached out of him, which, you got the positives and the negatives from that. Let's remember when he signed for us, he was a number 10.
I didn't know that, to be honest.
He made his debut at number 10 in was the Europa League or one of the cups around then.
Yeah. To be fair, I think that is his position now, though. I think like that.
I'm not saying put him in number 10, but
no,
I feel
but I know
like
what you mean.
He's
Like
been coached out of
he's got
thinking I'm going to have a pop, and it seems like all the managers want him just sitting deep, spraying the ball around, and I wouldn't be shocked if he is probably told, just get it forward, leave that to the other guys, and look to recycle, lead by example. This is our game plan. I think Steve Cooper maybe allowed him a little bit more freedom to shoot, especially when Conor Hourihane came in. I don't know why specifically when he came in, but it did seem to be a bit of a competition between them for a while.
Yeah, I remember we were talking for a while, where they were each scoring goals, weren't they?
Yeah, but he was taken off corners, wasn't he, and then planted on the outside of the box. So when there was a bit of a mess in the corner that came out, he was there to pick the pieces up and had a few chances to actually hit it. That's probably one of his strengths that we don't use enough of, because people criticise a lot of his set plays and his free kicks, and he doesn't score that many free kick goals. But I think his free kicks are not that bad, and he's probably been a bit unlucky over the years to not have a few more.
Yeah,
there as well. But I don't think Grimes is the problem. I think he does a good job. What we need of him, and this whole thing about him not being able to be creative and be progressive, well, the stats don't back that up for a start. I think he was second highest in progressive passes in the Championship last season, and he's been near the top of our assists chart for the last 2 to 3 years. So just because he's not always showing that glitz and glamour doesn't mean that's the issue,
He's right up there. Sorry,
go on. No, go on.
I was just going to say, like you said, right up there on assists every year, but how deep we use him. I understand the premise of using him deep initially, like at the very first phase of play where he slots in between the centre backs. Usually there'd be 2 strikers on both centre backs trying to stop them playing out. Grimes having that extra, man advantage then creates a 3-on-2 scenario, allows us to break the first line of defence. I get that. What we don't then do, though, is allow Grimes the freedom to step up. He needs to be the one, ideally, in advanced areas receiving the ball, maybe even the number 10 position. I know that's not where he should be by default. if we build up slow and he drifts into that area, because he is our best bet, while Patterson isn't here now, probably, of finding somebody beyond the last line. It's no coincidence he ends up getting a lot of assists, because in the rare moments he is allowed to drift forward and receive the ball higher up, he is the one that unlocks defense. He does it like on a regular basis. Like if you try and convert, you can pick a pass. If you try and look at how often he gets the ball in that area, he has a high percentage chance of making something happen. It's just we never really get to see it. So
yeah, and this is what I mean when I think it's been coached out of him, because for some reason, from what I observe, especially now with Luke Williams, he doesn't want him getting into them areas. It seems like he wants him sitting, picking the ball up in the centre back areas and controlling it from there. Seems to be a reluctance to let him.
What was Grimes' heat map? Did you pull that up? Just out of interest. Last night he would have been a bit further forward, wouldn't he, in the end? But yeah, you can see where he predominantly picks up the ball is that one just on the left-hand side of the halfway line, and that block where he just picks it up from deep. But there was one instant last night, which was quite funny, where he was almost begging Choa on to get forward, and he didn't. So he did it himself. He went did an overlapping run and then delivered a lovely ball into the box.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, there was one time in the second half as well where he was the one making a run through the defence. I think Pedersen tried picking him out. I don't think he got the ball from the run, but I saw that as someone getting a bit frustrated that these runs are not happening, because Grimes can pick that run out. No one's making it. No one's making that run. Whereas, I don't know if this was when Jisung had been subbed, but people have been calling for Abdullah to have a go in the middle, and he had a chance last night for a brief period, but he had a chance.
It was 7 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't. I think
still was there.
We need to talk about Abdullah as well, don't we? I think I like we said, the plan is clearly to go wide. So why he persists with Abdullah on the wing is beyond me.
He had a lot of criticism last night online, I think, and people saying League Two player, but I don't think that's necessarily fair. No. And I think he did try a bit. He was trying to take a man on, but the only thing he seems to be able to do is kick the ball past someone and hope that they can outrun him.
it's harsh because he's clearly playing out of position, and he's not a bad player. And this is not me saying he's a bad player, because I don't think he is. But when you play someone on the wing, especially if your main attacking threat needs to be down the wing, you need someone very different. You need a Ronald. You need, the way, like, I know we're going back, but you need like a Dyer and a Routledge with people who would take people on. If you're playing someone out of position on the wing and expecting them to take defenders on, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, Abdullah, right? Maybe it's a waste. He reminds me, build-wise, of a Cham, of Leroy Fer.
Yeah.
Go into an extreme of a Jude Bellingham, right? If you're going to say number 10, build-wise, he's quite tall. He's quite
Stocky.
I think he's got a good, he could probably he's got a good balance on the ball in the middle to kind of keep the ball at his feet. I don't think he's one that he's not nifty, like with skills and taking players on, as you've just said. If we're going to compare to Swansea terms, I think Leroy Fer is probably a good comparison for him. I would like to see him be able to do that sort of job, but I just don't think. And that's probably something that you mentioned it with missing a Cham. It's probably something that we're missing, a bit of a bruiser in the middle who will run back and forth and have a bit of a shot from outside the box and box to box, I guess. What would you call Leroy Fer?
Yeah,
I don't know how good of an engine he has, but yeah, box to box is probably right. And it's frustrating, isn't it? Because for me, you pair him with Franco and Grimes. On paper, that's a midfield three that complements each other quite well. I understand you don't have that Burton Selena type number 10 or Jamie Patterson type number 10 in there. But you've got Grimes, who's obviously going to be very good on the ball progressively. You've got Franco, who's just going to break everything up. And you've got Abdullah, who play the ball to feet, and he does appear in the central areas at least just to be able to buy himself a yard.
Yeah, I think he could turn at people. I think also he can run into the box late, and he's quite tall. If we're going to play crosses in to complement, get onto the end of them with a bit of pace.
In all fairness to him, like, even though he's not a winger, like you said, there are occasions where he does kind of beat his man on the wing, doesn't it? But it's just not natural to him. So I can just imagine, like you said, if you had Franco and Grimes as the two and him just in front, I could just see him on the turn, just turning and driving through the middle of a defence, and picking up pace as he gets going. And I just think that I'd just love to see him do that a bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be the answer, especially if they're gonna, and especially if he's gonna play as like a 10, or maybe not quite a 10, but as a bit more advanced, like him late running into the box with crosses coming in. There's something that could work, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to be the plan at all with him.
In his defence, he won 4 out of his 10 ground duels, and Bianchini won 3 out of his 8. So it's not like he did any worse than who is supposedly an out-and-out winger. Granted, Bianchini first appearance, but he's not a square peg in round hole, is he? So
I just want to point out, like, when you had those two sets of stats up on the screen, I don't know how common that is for wingers, but possession lost 19 and 21 times.
Let's have a look at Grimes for comparison.
All right, well, clearly this isn't just passes. There's got to be like 50-50s. If Grimes has lost 13 times.
Yeah, it's not representative of his inaccurate passes. It's perhaps getting tackled and stuff as well.
Wouldn't surprise me, because like Bianchini seemed to lose the ball quite a lot.
He kept falling under his feet, didn't they?
Yeah.
Same with G-Son.
But it probably will happen with the wingers, because like we said, they kind of just give it wide and then they're like, right, go on then, like, do something.
I felt like the difference was Bianchini's first touch. It was a heavy first touch every time he received the ball.
Yeah.
Same as Vipotnik, I think, though his first touch hasn't been amazing.
100% pass accuracy.
If you're only making 6 passes in a match, then
Vipotnik's a strange one.
You're not ready for the ball.
Maybe they could even play Cullen behind him as another.
Well, they have been, haven't they? As when he comes on off a bench.
Because I think that the best I ever saw, like, Cullen's another one, because I don't know how they're going to plan long term with Cullen and Vipotnik, but the best I ever saw Cullen play was the period when when Russell Martin played him just off Perot.
Yeah.
And he had that spell of games where he was brilliant. And I think that's probably his best position. So maybe they could give that a go, but we'll see.
The difference there is obviously Perot interchanged with Cullen and was exceptional on the ball. It stuck to him like glue. So,
Yeah, exactly.
They were kind of playing two up top though, weren't they? One left, one right.
I know what Lee means though, in terms of sometimes Perot would run beyond, they'd always follow him because he was Perot. It gave Cullen maybe a yard of space in the number 10 position. He did the simple things right of just receiving the ball and looking to find whoever was running beyond.
Yeah.
Again,
I think it was a game. I think it was a game in Norwich away. I think it was. We won like 3-0, I think, going back 2 years ago maybe. And he was absolutely brilliant in that game, Cullen. The one that sticks out.
Against the lack of movement from everyone off the ball. We were so static. Like it makes what we're talking about, it just doesn't work if people don't commit to it. So clearly, again, the coaching isn't, this isn't the plan, what we're talking about right now.
That's the question. What is the plan, isn't it? What is the plan to get goals? And going back to that then, before we end the video, I think he played a different system in Notts County, and he tried that as soon as he came in here, and he ditched it quite quick. And they've now clearly recruited for this system.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even think we can go to wing backs because of the recruitment, really. There's a lot of players all of a sudden alienated. And it doesn't look to me that he can get the same output offensively as perhaps what he thought he could and what he was before at Notts County.
I think we have to be careful.
I get the reasons why he changed it. No, I'm not saying we should go that way. I understand why he changed it. But that's where the jury's out, That's where the jury's out. Because he came in and said, I'm not Russell Martin, we're going to score more goals. That is what he said. I've yet to see that play out or be convinced that it will play out.
Again, I feel like obviously we're quite predictable now because we line up in the same shape every week regardless of opposition. It's kind of the polar opposite to say when Porter was here all those years ago where we play 3 different formations a game. You can't just tell people randomly play a different formation. They've got to be coached over time to do it. But I feel like if you included Abby in the conversation, there is potential you can switch to wing backs. Obviously, it does alienate all the signings we've made. That's the issue. Typically, then, if you're playing with wing backs, you don't have the wingers, obviously, relying on a cam that we don't have.
Yeah, we're not set up for it, are we? Really?
Yeah. So you're probably looking at a need of a number 10 to come in, unless you want to back Ollie Cooper to do it. The thing
is, it's meant to be as well, isn't it? But we'll see. Give him time.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like when you always read it. Oh, Bianchini can play left wing, right wing, cam striker. Ji-Sung can play left wing, cam. Like when Sam Klukas came in, he could play left wing back. Apparently, you know what I mean?
And cam.
Yeah. So it's one of those ones. Anyone can play it. Can they play it well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like being optimistic, trying to bring it back to a bit more positive. There's got to be a long-term plan here. We're quite early into the season with all the new signings. Surely there's a longer-term plan here with they've signed half of them on 4-year deals, haven't they? So,
well, yeah, of course, but it comes back to what I was saying. You just want to see what the direction is, and I can't see that right now. That's why if we lose in these games and having the same results as what we've had, but we created a bit more, and you could see what we're trying to do. I think the discourse is not where it is now. It's a bit, you get a bit more patient naturally because you can see what's going on and you can say, okay, I understand the idea here. They just need a bit more time to gel. The problem is I can't see that. And, previous managers had the most amount of stick ever for those reasons. And I'm not saying I want the same outcome here because I don't want it to get as toxic either. But I do think it should get called out, and I do think we should expect better, especially now he's had a chance to bring in who he wants. He's had a summer to put his ideas across off season. In theory, we all said and accepted, and he even said from day one, the reason that he changed it straight away in January to start his ideas was basically treating the rest of the season as a bit of a pre-season. So I just expected a bit better from the start of the season from what I'm seeing on the pitch. Not necessarily the results, but the game play and the game plan. And I don't think anything's changed. And that's what my concern is.
This is the risk also of, as Lee probably mentioned, just bringing in so many players from abroad at once. Like, I know maybe it's an extreme example. Sunderland over the last year purely just bought, everyone aged 21, 22 and under. And that's basically their entire squad, give or take a few players. And last year they dropped off massively, finished, I think it was like 15th, 16th, and everyone expected they'd be top 6. this season now they've started like a house on fire. How long that lasts, I don't know. New manager coming in, maybe you'll get found out. But they're probably one of the most exciting teams in the league to watch. It took them a full year to bed everyone in. It can also go the other way, like a Chelsea, who've got 40 players and they're trying to ship off half of them that they signed 2 years ago. So it's one of those ones that go back. The context is go back 10 days ago. We were all buzzing about beating Preston 3-0 and we all predicted us to win in the derby. So it's far too early to come to long-term conclusions. Yeah, I feel like we need to give it maybe until November, December before we really know how comfortable we are, whether we'll improve as people get bedded in.
When's deadline date? Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, the proper judgment starts now for the next 5 to 10 games. And if we're still talking these same themes in that time, in 10 games time, and we have, like, if we're still not getting the results for this progress, fair. But if we're still like, we can't create chances, what we're doing going forward, I think that's time to be like, right, what's going on here? Because the priority of our recruitment has been in the forward areas. The recruitment got absolutely shafted last summer. So I'm expecting improvement by Christmas, definitely, in the forward areas, because that's where they've gone to sort of recruit. And arguably, other than now Abby coming in, I haven't touched the defence, have we? So you can kind of expect that is weaker.
I'm concerned imagine Time gets injured, is what I was going to say. If Key gets injured, you got Sam
Parker. Can Abby go left back?
I mean, by his own, this is him making the statement. He's quick, and by Luke Williams' statement, he's good at recovering. You can't expect him to have the attacking output Timon had, but I probably would rather have him there than
it's probably going to be Abdullah. It's probably going to be Abdullah.
A left back in the back four.
He started there, didn't he, last season?
Wing back.
He played right back last night.
I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in a left back on loan, though. I think they have to. I don't think
they're going to, from my view.
If Timon gets injured,
I don't know if we will. Just because Choahon's still there, Pedersen's still there. I have no doubt if we could loan them out, we would have.
I guess Norton can play there as well. But
I think we solved the mystery of Choahon last night.
Yeah, I know we didn't really touch on him much. I think Luke, after the Cardiff game, I think we have a group chat. He said, I can't believe he wasn't on the bench. Why didn't he get 15 minutes? I feel like...
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you may have had a couple to drink, but yeah.
I was probably joking.
But no, Wycombe probably answered any questions about why we haven't seen much of Choahon, to be honest. The first time he actually was required to, handle himself defensively, he nearly got booked in the first half just for an accumulation of fouls. He couldn't handle defensive duels at all.
What I was trying to say is, like, he made all the bench changes in the Cardiff game, brought the new guys in, but seemed reluctant to actually put them on a pitch. So I was trying to say, all the people that got dropped from the bench, the players, if they were more likely to get on the pitch if it was needed, I don't understand the changes if you're reluctant to play your new guys, like we were calling out for perhaps the winger, the winger to come on, and Abdullah ended up on the wing again.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. So, like, for me, it was like, if you've got these players who have had game time this season, even Josh Thomas as well, I'd rather them be on the bench if they need to come on, rather than put the 2 new signings on there just to sort of get used to the environment, even though they're not going to come on.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I probably had a few drinks and I probably didn't articulate it in the best way. It's probably fair to say that. There was another point in there somewhere that I missed, but I forgot what it was now. But whatever. Do you want to pull up the predictions before we finish?
Yeah, shared it.
Let's have a look then. What have you seen? What's the results from the derby?
That's just an update on what happened.
No way.
Myself and Luke predicted us to win 2-0, 3-0. Lee got not only the result, but the scoreline spot on. So he's the very first one of the season.
If we won't hear from him when he goes away in his wedding now, he won't get his predictions in on time. Yeah, we fall off a cliff.
Boys, it's just inevitable. This is where it starts.
Maybe you need to give it to us now for the next few games so that you don't miss them.
Well, funny enough, I've done the West Brom one, and then I'll be back because it's international break, isn't it? So I'll be back.
Lucky.
Well, mind you, I'll be back the day before the Norwich game, so I might have to give you the prediction. I might not be on the video.
Yeah. Lee anyway becomes the first to get 5 points for myself and Luke getting nothing.
Inevitable.
So
Look at
That's
that.
a
It's a little plan of work. It is worked in it. Oh, if I say we won't beat Cardiff, I'll be okay then because I will win in other ways.
I could have been sitting on 3 correct results here because Preston equalised after half time, which they should have. We could,
we scored 3 in the end, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
He's clutching, mate. 3 correct results, 2-0 Middlesbrough.
Yeah, it should have been 2-0.
1-0, wasn't it?
It should have been 2-0.
Sorry, I read that as you put Swans 2-0, but yeah, never mind.
So yeah, Lee currently winning on 7 points, myself on 4, Luke on 2. But look, get the correct scoreline. That's how quickly it changes.
So, this is why I've stopped being optimistic, lads.
Stop the count.
Because obviously I'm being optimistic with our scores and it's not working.
So we start a new format of doing this now where we've all locked in our results or scorelines, I should say, in advance of the pod. So we can't influence each other. So private messages, I'm just going to, pretty sure I got this right. Hold on. Okay. So Lee went 2-0 to Borough. Luke went 3-0 to Borough.
West Brom.
Oh, West Brom, my apologies. Yeah. And I also went 2-0 to West Brom. And you said Borough again.
Wow.
So I can't actually catch up on Lee this week.
Quite a contrast after this week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
To be fair, West Brom have started really well. I did the preview video last night, which is why I missed the first 20 minutes of the game because I had it on my phone trying to chat to the guy on the video, which was a little bit rude, but I was trying to keep up with what was going on. And that's when Choahan made most of his howlers, I think, actually, in the first 20 minutes. But yeah, I'm not optimistic going up there. From West Brom. They're in a good place, West Brom are. They're in a good place. And I don't know if we had them in our top 6 for the predictions, but I think they have a chance of being quite high up this season.
We had top 8. I know we did.
There's a winger they've got that if he doesn't leave, that's really important for them.
Remember his name?
It's a shame because we always used to do well away at West Brom. It used to be quite a good hunting ground for us. But
yeah, even the 3-2 last year was a good game.
Yeah,
and he referenced that in the video yesterday. He said, like, I don't understand, like, Harry Darling just turned into a monster in that game specifically. It doesn't seem like he does that for you all the time. And I was like, well, yeah, it doesn't, because we don't play like that anymore. We don't try and find him at corners or try and win headers or score set pieces, which is, for me, like, I'm not saying that should be dictating your style, but it could be a plan B. And you can see what he can do from it.
Tom Fellows, by any chance?
Right winger.
Yeah, might be 3 assists already this season. Just comes. He's been on loan at Crawley.
No, that's it. It's him. He's top of the assist chart, and is it Josh Maja? He's top of the goal scoring chart. So for the league,
yeah.
But yeah, they've started well.
Charlie Grant as well on the left. Apparently, has come back revitalized from his Cardiff loan.
Could have been a Swansea loan. Remember that?
Yeah, it's going to be. I
wanted to sign him. They wanted to sign him, make him highest paid player, and everyone kicked off, didn't they?
He would have been highest paid player on loan, I think. There's no way we could have bought him, I don't think. It would have been a 6-month loan in January the year before, I think. It's a tough run if you look at that in mind. Norwich, West Brom, Coventry, Bristol City, Sheffield United, even Stoke started all right.
Norwich haven't started great, which is one you've got to highlight, I think, as potential for result. The rest of them a bit tricky, maybe.
So I feel like West Brom, Norwich, Coventry, Bristol City, Sheffield United, I had all of them in my top 9 predictions.
Yeah, I had Norwich high up as well. They haven't won a game yet.
Yeah, that is the context of it, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, there we are. We'll see how the next few weeks go. I hopefully there's a bit of hairdryer treatment and we see a little bit of action on the pitch, I think. But I'm worried that we just can't score. That's the be-all and end-all of it. And that's when your confidence starts dipping and things start going wrong, isn't it? When it's a spiral, I think, from that sort of situation. If we were scoring and losing games, do you think it's maybe fixable? Or maybe not that far away? But I just don't feel confident. Like we maybe make 1 chance in a game or 2 chances in a game, and if you don't score it, then unlucky.
Yeah. There's got to be a reaction Saturday after that. After this week, it's got to be, surely.
We did say
it's
that.
A hard place to go for a reaction. Yeah. To be fair, it wasn't the same players, was it? So, I mean, it's hard to get a reaction when you were all the people sitting on the bench watching.
True.
But it's all words until until you see it on the pitch. And I think Williams is falling into the trap of that. I think Russell Martin was good today and good at getting away with it because he had a long period of buying himself time. Luke Williams perhaps showing similar signs, but see if he gets as long. Because if this is a run now of this sort of performance level, even if there's some wins mixed in with it, if we have a run of this sort of performance level that lasts up till Christmas, what do we think the general perception is going to be?
It's hard to really answer of anything but negativity.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
how long do we let that build and become toxic before there's action? I'm not trying to say he should get sacked. I'm just trying to ask them questions because ultimately that's what happens, isn't it? The toxicity gets so big that it's unattainable to continue.
Yeah, I guess, it is still early. If we go and we beat West Brom now, I don't think we will, but if we go and get a result up there, then it changes. The next video is going to be different again, isn't it? But,
yeah, and I'd happily eat my words, but it's all good doing it for one game. It needs to be consistent.
My only worry is that, like you mentioned about the atmosphere becoming toxic, and I think it has been for a while. We get to the point where everyone starts screaming when the ball goes backwards, and that starts to wind me up because you want passing football, and then someone plays a backward pass and everyone goes mental, and then the atmosphere is poor, and it makes it harder to get it. Well, we've been through this a million times, haven't we, about this style of football. It's a bigger conversation to have, but
I was raving about it before the video when I was kind of being inconsistent and hypocritical of myself because I was saying Duff had more criticism for his style in less time, even though I think we're not really in a better place. But Luke Williams has had more time. But I did see last night there's quite a big discourse against that, which is fine. But then what my biggest issue is the fact that, don't worry that it's Michael Duff, but when they were playing a different style, and also Steve Cooper kind of works for him as well, they didn't like the style of football, even though he was getting results. Duff wasn't getting results. Massive issue. Now it's gone back to the football they wanted, as much as there's no goal scoring with it, and I get that's a massive concern. There's a big issue with the passing sideways and backwards. When the style works, you still have the passing sideways and backwards, you're scoring more goals. Now, yeah, that's an issue it needs to fix. But I just don't, it confuses me. It's like you don't want it not to be there, but then you don't want it when it is there.
It's the speed of the play. I think it did actually get quite toxic last night down against Wycombe as well. I think it got to the point where we're in the 87th minute and we passed it back for the fourth time in the same build-up, and then we just started booing our own players. It's like you say, it can turn really
But
quickly.
That's the style, innit? That's the game plan. We'll keep doing what we're doing until it works. Russell Martin was the same. He said the same things. This is the way we play. We will play like that for 90 minutes because the game plan is to wear your opposition out, make the gaps, etc., etc. We know the spiel of it, but that's what we asked for as a fan base generally. Now, I have a massive issue because I didn't want necessarily. I'm not saying Duff shouldn't have got sacked, but I wasn't calling for Russell Martin version 2 to be what we need to go for. I was happy to try something different. I want to get results more than anything. And I think at the time, it was more of a call of we need to do it the Swansea way of passing. But then when you see that on the pitch and in the games that doesn't work, the passing is the problem. And I just feel like you can't, that's the issue. You can't have both. And until we maybe accept some changes in that, maybe we're going to keep falling into the same problems and go around in the same cycle, the same circle, go back to square one again at some point, and it'll be start again, do the same things, have the same issues, etc., etc. And it's just getting a bit boring, that cycle, I think.
Lovely way to end it.
Anyway, hopefully next week
it'll all be different when we beat West Brom on Saturday. It'll all be different.
Well, we'll see. Cheers for coming, lads. Have a good time away, Lee. I'm sure you'll enjoy it a little bit more than being down the stadium.
Cheers.
See if you can find a Sky Plus stream when you're lapping it up in the sun.
Yeah, I will try. I will watch the game on Saturday. I'll definitely watch it.
Dark market regions, you probably won't have to find it. Try that out. To be fair, probably be easy.
I'm not in the country, so I'll be able to watch the Swans.
Yeah, you don't even need a VPN. Cheers, Ben. I'm sure we'll catch up next week in Lee's absence. We'll carry the ship.
Yeah, of course.
If we start winning when he's not here, maybe he doesn't come back. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Are we going to be doing a Welsh one, by the way?
We'll try fit it in. I'm not going to make any promises, but we'll try. So when is that? That's like we've got West Brom this weekend, and then Wales is next week.
Weekend after. Yeah.
We'll have a look, see what we can do. So they might have something about Wales next week. We'll see. What days are they playing?
Friday night, I think, the 6th.
Gives us a bit of time then between West Brom and... Is it just one game?
2 in Turkey and Montenegro, I think.
Okay, we'll have a look at it. But yeah, we'll keep you posted. But cheers, lads, for coming as always. And we shall catch you in the next one.
See you soon.